Hi everyone. So now we're up to what happened to me when I got government housing, part 10. And I'm going to go over some things in this video so I can proceed without explaining everything all the time. So you all will know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about being in the block and different locations of incidents that happen. So this is the front of my block, where you can see the car park, and I have to walk through the car park to get to my unit. The blue line in this photo shows the respondent's unit, which was directly above mine, and the orange line shows the fence in front of my unit, which I will call my side fence. My front door is accessed from the entrance that the purple line is pointing to. And as you can see, that is a small area. And I avoided getting into my unit from there because I couldn't see who was in front of my door when I approached it. Because the respondent's unit was directly above mine, that caused a lot of problems. He would use power tools inside his unit and also on the balcony that you can see. And he would also bang on his floor, which I think was with a hammer, but I don't know because obviously I wasn't there. So he would bang on his floor, but that was actually my ceiling. So he was banging on my ceiling, and he would do that at all hours of the day and the night. And I once told a doctor that I couldn't sleep because of the respondent banging on my ceiling, and she sarcastically asked me how he got into my roof. And the way she said it was, "How did he get into your roof?" Like it was very, it was pretty bad. I mean, she was clearly working on the assumption that I was imagining what was happening rather than questioning me to clarify what I meant or offering me support. And this was a consistent problem that I got from basically all the professionals that I spoke to asking for help. People talk about gaslighting and not being listened to by people in authority, but when you are disadvantaged, like I am, there are professionals who seem to see all poor and disadvantaged people as liars, and no amount of evidence will make them see otherwise. So, when I get into the unit by the side gate, I have a side yard, which you can see here, and there's a balcony overlooking my side yard, and this posed a lot of problems for me with the respondent spying on me when I was coming or going from the unit. But I still found that doing that was a safer option than going out my front door because he could have been hiding in the laundry. This balcony overlooks my side yard and the door that I use to get in and out of the unit, so it also poses a threat to my privacy. And because the balcony is over and near the fence, it poses an unacceptable threat to my safety, as people can and do climb over the balcony onto the fence and then they climb down into my yard. I think that a pergola should be put along the fence line to protect me from that and to guard my safety and privacy. And this was one of the things that I would have spent my compensation money on if I was awarded compensation. But as we know, my application was refused, which means that I'm still in the same situation. When I walk into my backyard, I go down a walkway and then I get to my backyard, which is shown here. And above my backyard and my unit was one of the respondents' windows, which you can see here. And that overlooked my backyard. So every time I left my unit, I had to go out my front door or risk being assaulted by the respondent, or I could go out through the side gate. It was hard to get out the side gate because the respondent would park his van right in front of the gate that I used to exit and obviously to get, in. Um, the intervention order that I had against him prohibited him from doing this, but he did it anyway. And the police kept telling me that incidents weren't serious enough for him to be charged, so I couldn't do anything about it. The respondents seemed to understand that even though I had an order against him, it was meaningless and he could do anything he wanted, and he did. So, on days that I was able to get out of my unit, I passed the respondent's van and then I walked through the car park where he had assaulted me previously. Then I had to get past his minibus, which was parked outside the front of the block, and it was like an obstacle course. And it was so stressful looking out for him while trying to stay safe and also trying to protect my daughter. And it just became a chore to leave my unit. I felt trapped and I was physically and emotionally exhausted. So by the 23rd of the 8th, 2015, I had got out of my unit to take my daughter on a walk. And when we got back to the block, the respondent came down the stairs shaking a piece of paper at me, which I never found out what that was because obviously I didn't look at it. And he was verbally abusing me while he was doing that as well. And while I was getting into my unit, I rang 000 to report that incident and no police officer attended my home. But later in the day, an officer rang me to speak to me about the incident and he asked me to go to the local police station and make a statement. But I didn't end up going because of all the times that the police had refused to help me before. After being assaulted and verbally abused by the respondent, I didn't feel like speaking to the police. It was too hard to get out of my unit and I just wanted to keep my daughter safe and I wanted to keep her with me, so we just stayed inside. So by the 12th of the 9th, 2015, I booked a holiday for my daughter and I took my daughter to the Gold Coast. And this was the happiest time that we had had in years. I had been promising my daughter that things would change and that we would be okay. But the respondent was still in the block and he was still stalking us and he was still verbally abusing me. And he had gotten away with insulting me. So I just wanted to get away. I don't know why I felt that I had to go interstate to get away. Because looking back, I could have booked into a hotel somewhere in Melbourne, but I chose to go to the Gold Coast instead. I paid off the holiday through a savings club called Crisco, and we lived on cheap food for months, and I scrimped and saved just so we could have some peace and quiet, and so we could be safe, and so my daughter could have some happy experiences. I was constantly aware of how seeing all of this at the block would affect her, and I just wanted to see her smile. Saving up and living on cheap food was worth it. I booked 4 days at a place called Paradise Resort, which is a resort designed for children because obviously for me, I didn't need much. I just needed to get away, but I think a resort for children was what I wanted for my daughter. That was what I had in mind. And it was worth it. I saw my daughter smile for the first time in ages. And this photo here is my favorite photo, where you can see her going down a water slide, which was at the water park at the resort. We were happy and safe every day that we went to bed and every day that we got up in the morning. And every day that we spent there was wonderful. And what I wanted to say is that if anyone else is in a similar situation to what I'm describing in my story, and if they're wondering about going away and whether or not it's worth it, then I would say to do it. Getting away from a bad situation is hugely beneficial, and the memories that we have will last forever. We had such a wonderful time in the Gold Coast that going back there was one of the things that kept me going when I thought I wasn't able to cope. I focused on how wonderful it was to be there, and I'm so glad that I decided to go.